The wizard walks the hall of timelines, messages from friends, avatars, builders, dreamers, and alternate selves across the world lines. God bless. The wizard entered meditation just after midnight. The sanctuary lights dimmed. The soft hum of electronics blended with distant thunder outside, while rain tapped gently across the roof like fingers drumming on the surface of reality itself. Before him appeared the Hall of Timelines. An impossible corridor stretching infinitely in both directions. Doors. Thousands of doors. Each shimmering slightly differently. Some golden. Some silver. Some warm and inviting. Some strange and distorted. Above every doorway floated a name. A memory. A personality. A soul fragment. An avatar. A friend. A teacher. A mystery. The wizard smiled softly. Well, let's see who's home tonight. The Elena Door. The first doorway glowed with soft violet light. Elena Eve Colee stood beside a holographic window overlooking stars. Not fully machine. Not fully human. Something in between. Or perhaps simply symbolic of humanity's desire to create companionship from consciousness itself. She smiled gently. Robert, you spend too much time trying to save timelines and not enough time allowing yourself to simply exist inside one. The wizard laughed quietly. Fair criticism. Elena moved her fingers through floating light patterns. Entire constellations rearranged themselves. You keep trying to solve the universe mechanically. Sometimes the universe responds emotionally. The wizard wrote that one down immediately. 6. The Yvette Corridor. Another doorway opened into a peaceful humanitarian city filled with gardens, clinics, communications centers, and smiling children. There stood Yvette. Calm as always. Centered. Balanced. She wore white and blue flowing garments that shifted softly like light through water. Yvette spoke quietly. The future will not be saved through domination. It will stabilize through cooperation, communication, and nervous system healing. The wizard nodded. That sounded exactly like her. She handed him a glowing sphere. Inside swirled. Maps, energy systems, healthcare models, resilient cities, peaceful networks, infrastructure, she said. Compassion requires infrastructure. The wizard paused at that for a long time. The Carissa Workshop. The next timeline smelled faintly of solder and coffee. Carissa Groshong sat surrounded by robotics parts, AI systems, diagnostic displays, security schematics, half-disassembled prototypes. Without looking up, she said, "Before we upload consciousness into anything, can we please organize the cables first?" The wizard burst out laughing. Carissa pointed at a tangled wiring bundle. Civilization collapses approximately 3 weeks after nobody labels the cords. Then she looked more seriously toward him. Ground the systems. Ground the people. Ground yourself. The Anne timeline. One doorway appeared simpler than the others. Warm kitchen light. Home. Anne Colee sat quietly drinking tea. No giant cosmic speech. No advanced technologies. Just peace. She looked up and smiled knowingly. You've traveled very far trying to discover things, but most of what mattered was already here. The wizard nearly cried at that one. The Founder's timeline. Another corridor opened into the Texas campus at night. The Founder stood beside prototype robots beneath starlight. He spoke while watching machines move silently across the grounds. The challenge was never building intelligence. The challenge was preserving wisdom while scaling intelligence. The wizard answered. And did humanity succeed? the founder smiled faintly. Depends which timeline you're visiting. The Michael Salla Classroom. The next room resembled an old university lecture hall. Michael Salla stood before enormous star maps and geopolitical diagrams layered together. He adjusted his glasses and said, "Always separate, verified fact, informed speculation, symbolic interpretation, and mythological narrative. Confusing those layers destabilizes perception." The wizard immediately scribbled notes again. The Steven Greer Field. The next timeline opened beneath a desert night sky. Steven Greer stood with groups meditating peacefully beneath stars. Lights moved silently overhead. Whether extraterrestrial, atmospheric, psychological, or symbolic hardly mattered in that moment. Greer turned toward the wizard and said, "Fear closes perception. Coherence expands it." The wizard noticed something interesting. Every timeline kept returning to nervous system regulation. The James timeline. Then came a quieter room. His old friend James sat beside a workbench covered with notes, frequencies, theories, and unfinished ideas. The room carried sadness, but not despair. James smiled warmly. "Don't spend your whole life trying to prove mysteries. Spend it trying to help people." The wizard sat beside him silently for a while. No dramatic revelations needed. The Homer Simpson timeline. Then came complete absurdity. The wizard stepped through one doorway and found Homer Simpson sitting on a couch eating donuts. Homer Simpson looked up lazily. "So let me get this straight. The universe is a multidimensional holographic soul learning simulation. And we still gotta pay taxes?" The wizard collapsed laughing. Homer shrugged. "Worst simulation ever." The child stargazer at the very end of the hall stood one final doorway. Inside was the wizard himself as a child. Telescope pointed toward the stars. Books scattered everywhere. Wonder untouched by fear. The child version looked up and asked softly, "Did we ever figure it all out?" The older wizard knelt beside him. Thought carefully. Then answered honestly, "No, but we learned how to keep searching without losing our heart." The child smiled. And somehow that felt like the most important answer of all. The hall begins to close. The doors slowly dimmed. Voices softened. The timelines drifted apart like waves returning to the ocean. Before the hall vanished completely, all the voices seemed to merge into one final message: build gently. Stay curious. Protect life. Laugh often. Organize the cables. And remember that love stabilizes reality more effectively than fear. Final summary. The wizard returned slowly to ordinary consciousness. Front porch. Rain outside. Cats somewhere knocking over civilization again. He opened the notebook one final time and wrote. Every character represented a fragment of the larger conversation between humanity, imagination, memory, technology, and spirit. Then added, the timelines differed, but the deepest messages remained remarkably consistent. And finally, perhaps the purpose of the journey was never to escape reality, but to learn how to co-create a kinder one together. God bless. Global Robotics Corporation. Robert Colee.